This is how to Tyrant a swim bait. To make this into this, which will create a hollow cavity in this, so you can put a float in it, much like a Tyrant does. So, next step, after you pour your plaster with Paris, you lay your bait in exactly flat, flush against the top. Don't forget to put your holes in it for your skegs. Don't forget your Vaseline. Make sure not to get it on the actual bait itself, or you'll create little bubbles and pockets, and we don't want that. As you saw me just pull it over that one. We don't want that. But be liberal with it everywhere else. Make sure you have your piece of metal that goes into the hook slot in here that has a curved piece filed out of it. That's how I do it with the file. It is an 1/8 inch piece of metal, aluminum, much like this, very thin. And that will be used for your insert spot after we're done. Go ahead and mix up the second part plaster of Paris, as you do to parched one part. Just look a little bit like that, a little bit watery. Go ahead and pour it on. And it's a little thick too. I'm sure that'll set up quick. Tap it out. We'll be back. Alright, we're back. We're going to use the unbox. Always the fun part. With plaster of Paris molds, I really do find they can be a little frustrating. That's for sure. Alright, now there's the top of our bait. We want to get rid of all of that stuff while the bait's still all attacked with the mold. Good, nice straight lines. I like to use a tool, sculpting tool, or a razor blade, something of that nature. Good knife works too. It's crucial to get nice straight lines. Definitely helps with the pours when actually pouring the baits. Anybody can do this. Plaster of Paris is cheap. Everything I use to put in this bait is pretty cheap. And you get to make as many as you want. Any color that you want. You can add micro balloons to the plastisol to make them float even more. I personally like doing that with the top color that I'm going to pour. Usually I always pour 2 colors, if not 3 sometimes. Okay, and we got nice lines there. Not amazing, but nice. And you just press on the bait and it'll pop. Good detail there. That's what we're looking for. We got a cavity there. Fill that with some resin. There you go. No bubbles on that one. That's a deep cavity there. That's not a big deal. Next, we go to the resin. This is what I use. And I'll go ahead and fill that up. You want to do thin layers at a time, minimum 2 layers. You don't want any puddles or anything of that nature. A lot of times I will set it straight up to let any of the excess run out. On this one, since it has the pocket in there, might just let that sit on its back and cure under the lights and just make sure everything else has no puddles. All your fins. You don't want to put any there where your insert will go. You gotta take your time with this. UV resin is a wonderful tool to have, but it can also be very troublesome when it comes to drying weird, having lumps or bumps, or it taking over the scales and not giving you the details you want. And we're nice thin coats. Spread it out as thin as you can. Put it in your box. Your UV box. By alternating them like this, putting one in the box and starting on the other one. What you obtain by doing that is the ability to pull one out while one's curing and so forth and so on. Because by the time it takes you to fully get it coated with a nice thin coat, the other one will be ready. You definitely want to use a brush for this. Don't be afraid to use a little bit more. And typically, with baits that have eyes in them, I will take the eyes out so that the cavity shows up. And then when I'm doing the mold, I will reduce the cavity down to flush with the bait. And I will glue in an eye that I want to use so that it creates the right size hole for the eye. And since I'm trying to make this video somewhat short, I will come back to you guys when this is done. Okay, so next we have to create the insert. And for that we're gonna take a little piece out of here. And we're gonna save it up here. That's not going to be long enough. So, a little bit longer piece. We'll be right back. Okay, so while those are in there, in the box with the UV, I'm going to take out a little piece of aluminum like so. Take the bait, and a little piece was in there like so. We're going to see how far it goes down. Perfect. It doesn't go all the way to the top. It just goes just about to the top. We can trim off a little bit of that. Just like so. And we take the pliers, do little vice grips like so. And since this is going to have the same, you want it to be the same angle cut so it fits in there the same. Hold them together with your vice grips. Like so. There. File and cut it down. Using the other one as a template, best way to do this. Now, like so. You can go ahead and separate them now. Alright. This being your bottom end, being your top end. Now it's time for your two-part putty. This is what I use. Still great. It's easy to sand, sets up quick, resists heat, and it's fairly easy to mold. In fact, you don't even really need it in the vice grips for this part of it. It's actually easier to do without it being in the pliers. Another good tip for this putty is to have a wet cloth, paper towel, water on it so that it doesn't stick to your fingers, because it will start sticking to your fingers. Almost the same color, that's what you want. Remember, it's always going to be the same color when it's ready to start hardening. Take this guy here. And you may be wondering, why am I making a second mold when I already made this one? Well, the thing about the first mold is that, I'll show you what I mean. I didn't put the I didn't carve the circle in it. And what that means is that, you know, when you make your bait, you're going to have this longer slit at the bottom. And I want that to be a smaller hole. That's why I make it like so. But I still want the insert to be very similar to that one, as far as the length and the width. It's a little tricky to get that way. A little patience, a little finagling. You can get it that way pretty simple. And there you go. And that's what we're looking for. Try to keep it nice and straight. Same amount of material on both sides. Everything that you do to this insert will affect the swimmability of the bait. Having a hollow bait has a lot of bonuses. Not only can you make it float, but I believe it gives the body more action, harder kicks, and so forth, so on. And if you're going to Tyrant a bait, a swim bait, I'd suggest not doing it with a paddle tail. Any type of wedge style tail, like the K tail here, or a pud tail, if you will, is going to work better. Something about it being on the surface doesn't want it to kick well with a paddle tail. It tends to make it want to roll or swim along its side, no matter how well you balance it. That's really the key. Alright, we're gonna let that harden, and we'll be right back. Here we are again. We have the inserts made. This is the new mold, this is the old one. I made it a bit wider. Didn't have to go as far back as this one did. This was preliminary first trials. I feel like the float wasn't far enough forward, it wasn't wide enough. So we're going to try it like this. I also went ahead and took the insert on the old one and cut that crest out so that it has a smaller insert spot. And you want to make sure that these are filled all the way to the top. Even when they start to shrink, you want to make sure that it levels off to the top, because anything less than the top will change the way it swims. Also, you don't want anything more than the top either, or it will change the way it swims. That looks pretty good. Top out a little more up here. If you start it off just a little bit higher than the rest, it will level out right. and we'll be back. So I went ahead and did the third one in the next size up, which I really do enjoy that size. It's the whole reason I've done this series so far. And it doesn't need the cut in. It goes far enough in to where it fills the cavity. So I wanted to show you how to get the insert out. Also show you what I use to make a float. Warm oil will work. I use bait, bait attractant. It's oil based, so it works really well. I just take a brush and stick it up in there, and then I stick it on the other side as well. And when you're doing this, really try to feel for the amount of plastic that are on each side. And there you go. Now you have a cavity inside of there, just like that. Beautiful, isn't it? It's got a little bit of flashing up here, nothing that a hot knife can't take care of. It's flat. All this extra stuff, just take a hot knife and goes right down. Put yourself some eyes on there and you're good to go. Beautiful. Now, let me show you what I use for the flip. This is what I use. It is exercise mat. You can buy at Home Depot. It's spongy kind. This is like the edge part that's trimmed off so that you can connect them. Exercise mat. It's the best foam. It's dense but still soft and malleable. The only trick to it, the downside to it, is the forming it, because you got to make it into that shape. Of course. But this stuff does not absorb any moisture. And I do is just put it next to it. You know? Take a fresh razor blade. It's the best way to cut this stuff. Cut the shape out of it first before you cut the actual thickness of it. Because you gotta cut this part off, the gray part. It's the only part that's really not, applicable to the situation. Okay, so it's about the right thickness, or length rather, and then now we just take the end piece off here, and that cuts much straighter. In fact, this is going to be a little too thin. We'll use this side instead. I think this is the side that I measured anyways. And, cut your side off. See, it's hard to cut straight. That's the only trick to it. It doesn't like to cut. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and try to get that. And we're going to say this part needs a little more trimming. I do this stuff out on the boat too. I bring some of this with me, so I could always kind of mess around with it. So we got about the right length. Maybe a little bit taken off, because you don't want it too long. You want it a little too short. A little too short is better than a little too long. A little too long messes with the swim. And that's what we don't want to do. And here we go. Since you already have oil in there, this slides right in. Look at that, huh? Didn't change the shape of it. It's in good shape. Feels good. It doesn't move around a whole lot. It stays in one spot. Of course, eyes. And the last thing you need, besides the hook, which I'm going to show you in a second, is the nail weight, which will go in here, in between these two fins. Back to forward's fine, as long as you keep it parallel with the bait, along the bottom. You want the weight to run along the bottom. Even Mike will show you. He's not wrong. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing any of this, actually. I credit him to inspire me to become a bait maker, just for the rarity of his baits. There you go, something of that nature. Still not changing the body shape. Okay? And you're good to go, minus the hook, which I'll show you in just a few minutes. And lastly, the rigging. And of course I've got both of these already rigged up on my rods. As you can see, hook, 50-pound braid tied to a split ring that's attached to a very long screw lock. It's got the float, it's got the weight, and the eye. Just so you can get a better picture of it, this is the larger version. Hook, line, split ring, heavy duty split ring for the bigger ones, and a super long, beefy screw lock. They make them way bigger and way beefier than this. I have one around here I can show you. I know I do. I just saw it. Look at the size difference on those two. This is the one I am going to use. This is the one I have been using. You see? It's a big 7.5-inch bait. Weight in the back, float in the middle. And this thing swims amazing on the top of the water. I implore anybody out there to tell anybody about this style of fishing, a swim bait, because everybody should try it. I even implore the big companies to try it. You know, Berkeley and Zoom and anybody who has that big swim bait, even little ones like Holston, you know, Rising Sun, people like that. Please try it. And if you like this video, I can show you how to make a civilian out of a citizen, or how to make your own hand carved baits into swim baits that both swim on top and bottom, and also soft glides. I've been working with them for a while. I love them. Core Design's the absolute best. Berkeley, yeah, it's fine. That's all I gotta say about it. It's okay. The chopper's better, but it's still not Grow Design. And also smaller size ones with a hollow inside. And littler and littler. So come follow me. Let's go ahead and Tyrant all these swim baits.